Welcome to Conversations. My guest today is Shannon Sproull. Shannon is the director, I believe.
Youth Development Coordinator.
Youth Development Coordinator of something called the Flagship Project. I ran across her in some of my HIV work. We were talking about working with younger people, and her name came up, and Brant, the health department person, he and I went and talked to her, and it sounded like a very interesting program that kind of fit in with some of my ideas and some of the ideas that the HIV community are working on, working with younger people. And so we'd like to talk to Shannon about the Flagship Project, what it is, how it operates. You work with kids out of school or after school.
Yes, that's
Not
correct.
as part of their official school program.
I work through a grant as well as other funding sources through the county and in cooperation with the Missoula County School District. And we run what's referred to as non-school hour programs. And so that means after school, but it also means at lunch, and it could mean in the evenings or on weekends.
And during the summer.
And during the summer.
And you just came from doing that. You said you had 25 kids or so going. What sorts of programs do you do with them, for them?
You know, we try to have our programs be as kid-oriented and kid-directed as possible. They include programs that can build skills, promote education, provide assistance, academic assistance, and other things that are just fun.
What fascinated me was that your funding, or part of your funding, comes from people who want to see kids stay away from drinking and drugs, or if they're going to do them in moderation, learn to do them in moderation, which kind of fits in with some of our ideas about HIV education, is that, you know, sugarcoat it, what am I trying to say? The idea of these people is that by giving these kids something to do and providing them a healthier environment, that hopefully they will avoid drinking, drugs, you know, bad behavior.
Exactly.
And rather than lecturing at them, you're saying you're giving them something to do.
Exactly. We actually don't go out and promote don't drink and do drugs and tobacco, although that's the basis of our program, is that we want to try and provide them with programs that give them alternatives. We find that a lot of kids turn to those experimental things because they don't feel that they have other things to do, because they're not supervised, because they have the time to do it. And we believe our philosophy is that if you provide them with activities that are interesting and social and they get to have fun, they're not out doing other things. And it builds their self-esteem and confidence and skills, and hopefully that'll carry through whatever age group they're at on through adulthood.
I've been kind of amazed that once I got to know you, that when I talked to people and told them your name, it seems like the Flagship Project is involved all over the place. My friend who works at the Crystal Theater told me that you do something there. What are some of the specific things, if parents had kids out there who are in that age group, and
Specific activities?
Yeah.
It varies with the school as well as with the age. I work at a middle school, and at the middle school we do things as specific as art classes, dance classes, tutoring during the school year, other skill building things at the high school level, and community service projects at all three levels: elementary, middle school, as well as high school. And there's a lot of community service oriented programs, such as building a mural at Share House, or for the food bank. We did painting a mural at our own school at Rattlesnake, doing weed pulls on Mount Jumbo or Mount Sentinel, things that give back to the community and really get the kids invested in what they're doing. And our community members, just volunteers, business people, businesses, have given us support in terms of donations, become partners, volunteered their time, and shared in building those projects. But it's really been everything from building playgrounds or painting playgrounds, a variety of things.
I happen to make rugs, and theoretically, because I don't have the time, but suppose I wanted to teach a class, would that be an option?
Absolutely. We are constantly on the lookout for people in the community who have skills to share, and hopefully be willing to volunteer their time to share those skills. Our program, while we have some money, it's not about money, and we really try to get people to come to our program volunteering themselves and try to get our kids to volunteer in the community so that we're all working together. But certainly, I had a parent at Rattlesnake this last year who volunteered her time to teach a sewing class. And I was working with another parent to do a woodworking class, who was going to come in. That was something he does. And I think a lot of people don't volunteer as much because they feel that, or may not volunteer because they feel like they don't have something to share or they don't have a skill. But most of the time I find when I'm in conversation with someone and I start asking them what their hobbies or interests are, that I can help point out to say, well, Greg, you make rugs? Well, that would be really interesting. I think there would be a group of kids interested in doing that, and you could come to our school and share it.
What about people who feel they have no talent but might want to help out with programs that are already in place?
Mm-hmm.
Is that...
Absolutely. As I think as long as you like being with kids, and even if you think maybe you don't, you'll find them very charming, which, there are some people who think they're not kid people until they're involved with them. And kids are actually, just extraordinarily rewarding. But we have all sorts of programs that really operate on their own. At my school, we would love to have more volunteers who just to be out on our playground at lunchtime. That's an issue that we have where kids are better off when they're supervised by more adults than less. That doesn't take any skill. It just takes kind of, keeping an eye out, a watchful eye. I also run at my school what we call a game room, in which we have about 30 or 40 board games for the kids to come into the flagship room and play with each other. That helps learn socialization skills and just having a good time. There's always a need for someone to supervise those kids while they're in that room. And again, that takes only as much skill as kind of keeping your eye out and observing the kids and making sure that they don't behave inappropriately.
Now, you talked about different levels of kids. You just work with middle school?
I just work with middle school. We have 9 schools now that have a flagship project. All 4 School District 1 high schools, which would include Big Sky, Sentinel, Hellgate, and Sealy Swan High School, have a flagship project. 3 out of the 4 middle schools, and that would be Washington, Porter, and Rattlesnake middle schools, and 2 elementary schools, which would be Hawthorne and Franklin Elementary. So there are different activities and different programs and different styles of how those things are implemented based on that particular school community and their needs.
And what is your position in that? Are you just over middle schools, or just that middle school, or the whole program? Or
my particular position, I'm in charge of being, as I said, the youth development coordinator is kind of a mouthful, but my job is to help develop and oversee programs at Rattlesnake only.
Oh, I see.
And so I don't work in any of the other schools, except perhaps in collaboration with another school, but I only monitor and do programs at my school.
So there is someone out there who kind of ties this all together?
Well, as flagship coordinators, we all share with each other. We sometimes collaborate in our summer program. All 3 middle schools have collaborated on 3 or 4 programs during the summer to bring our kids together from all 3 schools.
Oh.
And at the high school level, they've done that on even a larger scale. What they've offered this summer is a high school level program, and then whether you're a student at Hellgate, Sentinel, or Big Sky, you can sign up for the hiking club and participate, and you would just be with whoever else did it. So it's not just that school. And it really promotes, again, community, because I think there's a tendency to be my school and my neighborhood. By mixing the kids up with the other schools, you're getting to know them and build a connection to other schools and other neighborhoods, and therefore consolidate, solidify, let's say, our own community.
Shannon, I'm 54, which means that middle school was a long time ago. In fact, we didn't even call it middle school, it was junior high.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard much about sex. Drugs never came up. Alcohol, no problem. What's it like now? What kind of pressures are these kids under, excuse me?
Well, I think the pressures are far greater in this day and age than it was when you were in junior high, when I was in junior high. There's a lot of pressure. I think a lot of it is probably media driven, I personally kind of feel like our society is kind of moving in a direction where we want everything quicker. And for that, it means that some kids are experiencing all sorts of things at younger and younger ages. So those pressures are there, and the pressure's being put on at a younger age than ever before.
How are the kids handling it? Just generally from, in your school at this time, do they seem fairly well adjusted?
I feel overall that yes, but it really is such an individual question, because it really depends on their support systems at home, what they're being educated like at home. I mean, if they have a good support system, they might be handling it better than someone who doesn't, for instance, a parent who might monitor the types of computer games that this child plays, but you have another parent who doesn't monitor, and which is not good or bad, but maybe one child is playing a game that maybe is not age appropriate. So I just think it can be so individual as to the general question. But I think we need to take a larger role in helping our kids, not, as a community. We need to all pitch in and make sure our kids are safe and doing the best they can.
Shannon, as a gay person, there's a kind of myth that we don't have children. A lot of gay people get in relationships early in life and do have children.
Mm-hmm.
They adopt. It has been my feeling that to some extent gay people should be involved in how children are raised in this society. All the values of society are passed on through children.
Mm-hmm.
And also, a lot of gay people have a hard time of it in our society, and I think we have an obligation to make it easier for those who are coming behind us. So that's kind of I guess that's what I want to say is, if you're gay and you want to volunteer for something like this and you have insecurities or something like that, this is not a problem.
Oh,
Is it?
no.
No, okay.
No,
You don't have to be a mother or father to watch the kids.
You don't have to be a mother or
playground.
father. You don't have to be a parent at our school at all. You could be a university student. You could be a grandmother. You could be a business person.
Hmm.
We are looking for volunteers of every kind and every walk of life, because the more diversity that we have, I think the better off we are. That's a personal opinion, but
Mhm.
we certainly that doesn't even come into play.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that we should all care about the youth in
Absolutely.
our society. If nothing else, they're going to take care of us when we get older, and so it'd be nice if they're responsible and well-behaved and all of that. Have you seen any real problems
as far as?
Well, you know, Missouri, we think of ourselves as a quiet little community, and Rattlesnake is a very nice part of town and all of that. Are kids getting into trouble with drugs, alcohol, misbehaving, dropping out of school?
Certainly.
Are there problems?
There are problems, as there are in any community. There's no perfect community. The average age of onset, if I'm remembering my stats correctly, is 14 for beginning to experiment with alcohol and drugs. And that puts most kids at 8th grade or just out of 8th grade. And so that's, I mean, to me, that's a problem right there. That's, in my personal opinion, that's just too young.
But your program is not lecturing all the time on the
We don't
dangers
lecture
of
at all.
these things. So,
We may have specific programs or events that are geared towards putting out information or education about drugs and alcohol, but that is, for all that's our intention, that kids don't do drugs and alcohol. We really don't play that up very much. We go the alternative route and just provide them with the activities that we feel will, by its very nature, prevent them from getting involved in other things.
I'm very concerned, or I think it's a better idea with all kinds of behavior modification, if you want to call it that, is to get the people themselves involved. And in this case, you really are involving the kids themselves. They make decisions, and they also, these are things that they want to do. They're not required activities, and so they are.
No child in any flagship program is forced into it, unless their parent perhaps is pushing them to do it. Some kids are possibly highly encouraged to participate for their own benefit, meaning you might have a teacher or a parent who might highly encourage a student to participate in the tutoring program, study hall, so that they can get extra academic assistance. Or perhaps an art teacher knows that the student really has an interest in art, and they know that Flagship is doing an art program, after-school art program, and it's a chance for that child to do more art. And, excuse me, it's very, as I said earlier, it's very student-directed, meaning that we have frequent meetings, that we invite kids to participate, and they're organizational meetings, and that means that you and I, as adults, might be there, and then I might have 3 kids from 6th grade, and a couple of kids from 7th grade, a couple of kids from 8th grade, or more, I mean, however many we can get, and sit down and say, what do you want your flagship program to be like? What kind of activities should we offer? And obviously, as adults, there might have to be some parameters that we set. No, I'm sorry, we can't fly to Fiji for the weekend. But by and large, we try to take what their interests are and then create programs around their interests. And that helps give them some buy-in into the program as well. And we've had very good success with our programs because of that. And we try to involve teachers and parents in those organizational meetings as well.
Is this, how did this program get started? Is there a national hookup, or did it originate out of this community? Or?
The concept did not originate in our community. It originated, I'm sure, in several different places, but our program that I'm aware of was based on a program called Bridges to Success. And there were numerous community members that were very concerned about our youth and felt that we should move in this type of direction. Bridges to Success was a very successful program that offered all the same things that we do in terms of educational skill building and fun programs. And so we kind of took that and applied for some grants. We received several, over the last 3 or 4 years, we've received several grants to begin and then continue to expand our programs. And then as we've done that, we've received more and more funding from local sources. And again, that may be businesses who may contribute monetarily, but it also might be businesses through donations, and that's a huge thing for us, is when businesses are supportive, and they've been great. We've had great response from our community members, and we're talking about things like they might donate 4 pizzas for a celebration party for kids who complete a tutoring class, or maybe a trip to the ice cream place after completing a community mural, or donating paint for, by one of the paint shops for a mural. So by contributing goods, services, or money, we have a lot of local support as well. And it started in 1996.
It's, I think this is just fabulous. And part of doing this kind of work is that you find things like this that you had no idea existed. Word and Wheel and all of these organizations. Now, when we went out and talked to you at Rattlesnake School, the gym teacher came in and answered questions, and which gives me the impression that you work with the teachers. In some sense, there's a relationship there. How is that strong, weak?
At my school, it's wonderful. I think at most schools, it's wonderful. The teachers need to be educated about our program when we first come into a school, and once they see some results, they continue to support it even more. I think, like anything, teachers are given so much to do and so much to accomplish in our school in most school districts, and are asked to do more and more things with less and less compensation. And I think most teachers view the flagship as helping them, because we can help alleviate some academic things for them. Again, I keep mentioning tutoring, but the tutoring at the elementary and middle school level is a big program for us, and a very important one. And so they see these programs and see how they can help students, how what we do after school, getting a kid involved in a program, actually translate to the classroom, and perhaps that child is affected in the classroom, hopefully positively. And I think most of the time positively. So we continue to work more and more collaboratively, and at my school I worked with virtually every teacher at some point, probably, on some sort of program, whether it was a science ecology camp, helping 6th grade students and classrooms with a volunteer project. I mean, and they're very responsive, and they help direct students to our program, and we try to support them in theirs.
I think, I hope that people out there, when they see this, you'll get some response.
Can I
Yes.
Can I interrupt just one? We were talking about collaboration, and I've talked about how businesses have been really supportive, but I really feel like I need to mention the fact that there are a lot of community resources for our youth. There's programs like Big Brothers and Sisters and Missoula Parks and Recreation, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, WORD, Women's Opportunity and Resource Development. And there are numerous, I'm probably omitting someone, and I hope I don't offend anyone, but there are numerous factions in town that are collaborating to come together and work for the betterment of the whole community, and doing that more and more, so that we're all working towards the same goal, instead of each one of us plugging our own piece. So we're trying to bring that in more, and met with great success. And there exists a community group called, I hope I get the name right, Missoula Forum for Children, I believe is the name of it. And I'm probably messing it up. And it's a group of business people and service providers and flagship folks who participate in that and collaborate on coming around and designing a big picture to follow. So I just want to mention how
You're
great.
actually asking the question I was going to ask.
Oh, I'm
sort of.
sorry.
let me try it I'll give the question now that
I'm
you've
sorry.
answered it. With the work that my friend Brant and I do in HIV prevention, at first we had sort of a grandiose idea that we could maybe do some huge community-wide thing. And then that seemed rather daunting and megalomaniacal and various other things, because realize that there are agencies and groups doing all kinds of work and doing good work. And so how do we become part of that mix? How do we get an HIV message out into there? If there are groups that are already doing that, how do we make it stronger? How do we find out who is doing what? What can you do in this area? And you've sort of answered that there is this area of cooperation among all kinds of agencies within the city. If a kid is in trouble, or, you know, let's say he's having, he or she is having sexual confusion, or maybe he's dyslexic and his parents never noticed it, or any of a variety of things. Is your program, does that give an extra chance for these kids to perhaps get help?
Certainly, I think it can. It depends on the individual, and it depends on the issue as to whether we can help personally our program, but certainly we can help locate the proper resource. A child with dyslexia needs a reading program, and probably is something a little bit more structured than our just plain old tutoring program.
Yeah.
But if I don't know the source, I will find out the source, and I can try and get that child hooked up with a different community agency that can meet that child's needs. And same thing with sexual orientation. You know, if that were to come up, if a child came to me or it came to my attention through a teacher or a parent, any kind of problem. For some families, it might be housing needs or clothing. It might be babysitting needs. We had one student who had a difficult time participating in after-school stuff because she needed to watch her younger sister. And it was too hard for her to participate because she had to go home. And that's a realistic problem. But perhaps we can help by hooking that family up with some babysitting resources, or at least alleviate it a little bit, so that that child could participate and wouldn't have to feel guilty.
Shannon, we will put up numbers, whatever you tell us. So we want people, it sounds like we're doing a commercial for your organization. If you are concerned with the welfare of kids in this community, and whether you have kids or whether you don't, if you have skills to offer as far as classes, if you want to volunteer, am I getting this all right? Or if you want to give money, I suppose that would probably
Give of your
be
money, give of your
appreciated.
time. We always need both.
Or if you have kids that you want to think might benefit by this program.
Absolutely.
So throw a number at us.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to throw a single number at you because we don't really have a single number.
All right.
Because we're really school-based in so many ways, I would say contact your school, and specifically if you're interested in flagship, it would have to be one of our schools. So I would say any high school, Porter, Rattlesnake, Washington Middle School, or Hawthorne, Franklin Elementary Schools, and ask for the flagship project, and we'll take it from there. But we each have our own phone number, and we each have our own
I see.
connections. So
I think that's also
any school
wonderful.
within your closest neighborhood would probably be your best bet. So, and again, it doesn't matter if you're. I have 2 teenagers who are helping me out with this summer program with my middle school kids, and they're fantastic. So it doesn't matter whether you're 17 or 77. Volunteering is something that we're always in need of, and it doesn't matter whether you're a parent or just a regular community member. So
I taught high school for a year, and it just appalled me that we had to put these kids in a place that they didn't necessarily want to be and force them to do things that they didn't necessarily want to do. And I always fantasized that, gee, if we could get these kids together on the first day of school and let them pick teachers or people in the community who kind of fit with the things they really were interested in, that it might be a better way of doing things. And it seems to me like you're doing the best of both worlds. You're helping
I'd
with
like-
the school, and you're giving the kids some choice as to the kinds of things that they can get involved in.
Yeah.
I think it's just wonderful.
Everything is in Flagship is by choice. And I need to say, not only by choice, but they literally have nothing to lose by doing it, because every Flagship program at this point in time and up to now is free. So there is no cost to participating in our program, ever. There's no cost. Free. Free, free,
Wow,
free.
wow.
So, and that's, courtesy of our grants and our local funding. And that really helps some kids be able to participate that wouldn't necessarily be able to.
Mhm.
But it also, aside from the free point, offering these programs to kids, I think, gives them an opportunity to try something that they may not have done before. We offered a hip-hop dance class at our school, and it was really interesting. There was a lot of people that participated that had never done it before, that they
Wow.
got to try it.
I tried to get you to give me specific programs a couple of times,
I-
and now you've told me hip-hop dancing.
Well,
What are some of the other things they do?
I stutter over the
Oh, your kids.
over the programs. At our school, we've done programs like I've mentioned, art and dance, hip-hop dance, jazz dance, art clubs, which is a connection with the Missoula Art Museum. And, see, I lose it when I get put on the spot. We've done visiting the animal shelter, visiting nursing homes, the mural projects, Parks and Rec ropes course, which is very challenging but very exciting to watch the kids accomplish. Overnight camping trips this summer is something that we've done, hiking, outdoor skills, cooking class. Again, there's another connection there with the Extension Service and the Expanded Food and Nutrition Program. They come and do a 4 to 6 week cooking class, which we don't have at our school. At our school, we don't have home ec, so that's an extra bonus to have that type of class at
Well,
our
it's a way to
school.
pick up some of these things that have been dropped because of budget cuts and stuff.
Exactly. And at Washington School, for instance, we have what they call tech art now. It was wood shop when I was in
Mhm.
school. We have tech art, they don't, but they have the home ec and we don't. So offering classes at our schools to kind of make up for what's not there. At Washington, they if they haven't, they probably will offer some sort of woodworking class or building things to kind of make up for the lack of tech art class.
Shannon, it was a pleasure to meet you and a joy to find out that people are doing something like this,
Thank
because
you.
I think it's a great program.
Thank you for having me.
And, yeah. And again, people out there, if you got kids, if you want to do something, if you care about the next generation, call your school, see if they have this program, and find out how you can help. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.